We know that everything we make leaves a trace, whatever we do. We know that. Therefore, we need guidelines as to how to minimise and how to be smart.
Society has no choice in this. Nature is giving us no choice. We have to act, or nature will make the decisions for us, and frankly, they won't be very palatable.
The Theatre Green Book is an initiative set up by various theatre makers, a response to the climate crisis and how we can make the theatre industry less wasteful.
It is a drive for us collectively as a sector to understand, A, the wider scope of where we are as a world, how we use our materials, and how we can shift our thinking around productivity.
Historically, theatre has not been a really sustainable industry because you create a show, it's on stage for a short period of time and then it all goes into landfill. Theatre Green Book is the statement that says there's a moment for change.
The Green Book falls into three parts: baseline, intermediate and advanced. With baseline, it means that 50% of the material that you use on stage must have had a former life and 65% must have a future life.
We have to be thinking about what will be the legacy of the work before we even make the work.
We do still want to be making things and creating things, but it's about the materials that we use and being able to trace the source of those.
I guess the main creative challenge, particularly for someone like me, is that it means you've got to make decisions earlier.
And so it's really important for us to give people the time, space, resources, the framework in which they can change the way they think.
So we need to start taking this into consideration from the very, very beginning. As soon as we see a white card, your brain starts working. What can we pull from other shows? What do we already have in stock?
Traditionally, prop buyers and prop makers are used to scavenging, sourcing, begging, borrowing. That's the nature of the job.
For me as a designer, it's incredibly useful to look at what the theatre space on its own has to offer, because a lot of that can then be the foundation for where you put your creative ideas.
In the case of Nye, the play takes place on an NHS ward.
We've got 12 hospital beds in the show, mainly repurposed.
Our teams went out and managed to identify a load of period hospital beds that we could hire. And hiring stuff sometimes is not the cheapest way of doing it, but it's certainly the most green way of doing it.
In Grapes of Wrath, we've been buying some second-hand textiles, having a poke around from previous National Theatre productions. As a costume designer, I really think that clothes tell a story, and worn clothes tell more of a story than new clothes because they tell the story of the person that inhabited them.
We just did Dear England. Lindsay Turner, the director of The Crucible, was working on The Witches. And we said, well, could we make a floor that will work for The Witches with this triple revolve, that will work for Dear England with this revolve? So the same floor was used in a lot of different ways.
On every show, there's some degree of innovation, whether it's about new materials that we might use, products we haven't used before, so we're experimenting with. We're only now starting to build up a stock of kind of modular bits of scenery that can be used over and over again. It requires lots of innovation.
London Tide is a good example. The river groins, that's the first time that this product has been used, and that's a product called Composter Block. So this is made from sugarcane, and it's a biodegradable product. So it's answering some of the questions around old products like polystyrene that are completely unsustainable.
A lot of research has gone on in this building on what to use instead of MDF, instead of plywood. For Crucible, we decided to use EcoBoard, which is the board we're using on Coriolanus.
This is EcoBoard. It's made from agricultural waste, so therefore it's already a reused material, which is a massive green tick.
A big step forward that's going to start helping us deliver the intermediate and hopefully the advanced standards of the Theatre Green Book is a new lease we've signed on a large storage facility which is only about 15 minutes away.
We are bringing all our storage together. We'll be doing all the logistics to make sure that we've logged it all in a way which makes it much more accessible. And crucially, we'll be sharing those resources with other theatres. This really is the key.
We have to act fast and we have to be leading. We need to be telling the rest of the industry it's possible, it is achievable, and then, as I say, sharing our knowledge and learning and doing that.
For me, my approach to this is really the kind of Samuel Beckett method, which is fail again and fail better. We have to change, and we have to change now, and what we can't do is leave this for the next generation to figure out. It's our responsibility.
I think the only way we're going to succeed in this is by sharing information and being really open and generous.
I do think it's probably the most exciting sort of creative challenge any of us will ever face. I don't think we all have the answers yet, but it feels already it's been such a short journey and we've made such huge leaps.
The scientists have proved their point. Evidence for man-made, disastrous climate catastrophe is very, very clear. Now it's up to the storytellers to step up to the plate. I think it's Tony Cade Bambara who said, the job of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And if we can tell stories that are funny, that are subversive, that are joyous, in a new, exciting, exhilarating way, then I think we've got a huge role to play.
It's not easy, but it's possible to see a path through. There will come a point for all those ambitions to be realised. I'm super excited about where it goes in the future.